All right, all right. It's Tuesday the 5th, and it's a busy week. Busy, busy, busy. Um, what are we looking at? Let's take a quick look at the news and what's going on here. Here we go. A little sensationalism for us. Let's see what's going on. Second half not looking good. Yeah, that's a good headline. Strategist on how to weather the storm. Man, that's just to suck you in. You could just tell by how the news articles that CNBC pumps whether the market's up or down at the moment. You know, all this negative shit, the market's down at the moment. If it was all positive and bullish, look at the market, market's up. But I do like to see if there's anything of value. I like that the euro's sliding and buy some assets over in Europe. Um, these economies are heading into recession. So this is any opportunity to use the recession word. So I would say that we're in recession, and that's just a 1 quarter GDP less than the quarter before. That's very possible, and that's not a terrible thing. Prolonged recessions are a terrible thing or a rough thing, but I mean, a moderate recession. If you're a business owner, you have those quarters where you produce less than you did the month prior. It's just natural business economics, so it's no big deal. Um, Russia's a pain in the ass. The supply chain's a pain in the ass, but I think that we're starting to acclimate. And I'll tell you, for the weekend, if you went out, I went down around town, down around the restaurants were hopping, and I'm up in a rural area. People very rarely spend money up here, and the vacation times, the summer times stand out. And over the past 10 years, there's just been a population explosion um, around my area, and cultural explosion too, and um, the restaurants are just packed. I mean, some of the restaurants there's just no reservations, and you just never saw that. I mean, you used to walk into places, take a seat, it's no problem, and have no fear. I was able to go out and have dinner and lunch and have a good time, but the town looked great. There were people everywhere. Um, you know, Maybe they're not spending as much as they would, but it looked pretty good. I didn't have a chance to go down around the camping sites, and that's yet the lower income vacation option in the area, and I think that's the arena that's getting hit the most. And I could look off the the deck, and I could see up the river, and I didn't see as many kayakers and canoers. I don't even recall seeing any. And then at a certain point, I could hear the sounds coming up the canyon, and it comes up to my house. And I used to hear that all the time during the holidays. I'd hear the paddles banging off of the sides of the canoes, or the classic Queen's mating call of woohoo. So I didn't really we didn't hear that much at all. We didn't hear that at all. Actually, there was nothing that drew my attention to the river. And once in a while, at around dusk, you start seeing smoke rising up off the river from all the campers, setting up their camping their campfires. So it's probably hitting the lower income more, and they're not traveling because of the cost of the gas and things like that. And that's what I'm saying. But for the most part, I see a lot of spending, a lot of health. I hear stories from old folks about how beat up their portfolios are and things like that, and that makes them nervous. But they're fixed income, and they live on the income of their portfolios. So really, their income hasn't changed, although their quality of life has diminished because obviously the dollar doesn't go as far as it did. Um, so Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, man. That's what I'm seeing. We're in their session, but I'm seeing gas come down. I saw it peak at regular at $5, and a few of the stations hit that, and then eased off of it. And now it's at like 4.89, and there's one cat selling it for 4.69. There's even a competition to the downside, and the fact that that guy's selling it at 4.69 and everybody else is selling it at 4.89 is just showing me or telling me that there's a little price gouging going in. I had gas stations when I was a kid, and there was like a 3 to 4 cent markup per gallon. That's what I used to keep. And the idea of the gas was to get people onto my property, and then I had all my pumpers trained to get them into my shops. Look for, um, you know, um, lights out or listen to the brakes as they roll in. Check the oil change. If the oils are dirty, push oil. Check the oil. If the oil is dirty, push the oil change and things like that. So that's where the money was made. But the idea of the gas was get them onto the property so that we could hustle. And now it seems as though they're making a pretty penny off of gas, and seeing that a guy is going to sell it 10 to 20 cents cheaper than his competitors around the community just shows me that the margin's there, and he's not buying any better. Um, Pretty much it's all the same distributor. Even you guys go to Exxon, Sunoco, Mobil. I mean, they buy from one another. You don't really know, what the product is coming out of the out of the pump because if they don't have distributors in a certain area, they'll buy it from a competitor to fill their station. Um, so the price is relatively the same coming from the distributor. So anyway, there's a bit of price gouging going in, which is encouraging too because people will have to smarten up, and then it'll help bring the price down. So when I see that disparity, I kind of get encouraged that the price is easing down. People are trying to make an extra buck, but ultimately it's going to end up in the pocket of the consumer. After all the greedy guys get done. So I don't know, man. I think we're around peak. And so other things in the news. What else are we watching? We're looking at reports, and I'm going through all this stuff because it's the beginning of the week, at the beginning of the month. So today, factory orders is going to be interesting. If it slows down a little bit, it could be a sign that, that the Fed's having an effect. Inflation is peaking, and then obviously the argument will be the Fed's having too much of an effect. It's going to slow down the economy. Blah, blah, blah. So there's always a naysayer. So you got tomorrow's a big day. You got you got job opening, you got non-manufacturing PMI, and they're still looking for a rise in that. And then you have the FOMC minutes, and I keep saying people are going to taper off, but in this volatile time, we're getting a lot of volatility going into the FOMC minutes. And really, last year when I knew the FOMC minutes were coming in, I would get heavy on my income trades because I knew that the volatility or the trading would die off. We just consolidate into these things. So the personality of the market has changed, really changed going into this market. And I've said it and been wrong so many times that the market should be quiet here, and um, then it actually does the exact opposite. It gets most volatile. So now I'm looking at it differently, and the personality is changing. So I'm watching for a shift back, really, a shift back to what I consider a normal trading market before FOMC minutes. So we'll keep an eye on that. Then we have ADP, employment change, and balance of trade, but just a lot of economic news coming out that could give you insight into inflation. And yet, we're not looking for 2% tomorrow, but yet, if we stop rising at these heavy numbers, that's a good indication that this baby's on the rollover. And ready to peak. And then Friday is non-farms, and that's a big number that the Feds watch. So we want to watch non-farm payroll, and they're forecasting a contraction, and that was the goal. That's what we're looking to do is contract, um, non-farm payrolls and everything like that. But then you're going to get the recession screaming. So just look for volatility throughout. I mean, and these are supposed to be the doldrums, and we're still getting this volatility. I mean, the trading range on the S&P is close to 90, and it should be between 40 and 60. So really volatile times. If you're right on your direction trades, then it's a good time to make money. But as far as your investments go, your income trades, I mean, I'm even backing off on the income portfolio. I'm really not aggressive, not looking for anything, just looking for when I'm going to begin trading that again, when this stuff subsides. Right now, it's just all about directionals for me. And then inflation year over year, they're obviously looking at it. They're still looking at a rise of 8.7. It would be very interesting if it came in at 8.6 again, following the previous year, and then the conversation of could it plateau is there. And you know what? Don't be knee jerk about it. Don't dive in. Don't get sucked back into the market. I think there's still a little flush out. I think there's going to be a little flush out into the rollover of inflation. I still feel good about that 33.18 on the Dow, on the S&P. I'm sorry, and then core inflation plays a role, and this is all next week. So next week is pretty heavy duty. This Friday again, it kicks off with non-farm, gives us some insight, and then gets substantiated with all these other the PPIs and retail sales. So a good couple of days coming in for news, and a good time to keep in mind that that's out there ahead of your trading. All right, so let's have a gander, shall we? And we're just going to look at the S&P on the daily right now. I know we closed out the week. Maybe we'll take a quick beat. Okay, so I talked about, and I know I'm very colorful right here, but there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to really figure the move. And everybody's kind of looking back at the dot-com bubble, and they're equating it to that, of course, of the risk asset of BTC coming into the economy, and there are similarities. A lot of yo-yos got involved with all the dot-coms, and everybody became a super trader, and I just can't get comfortable. And so I can understand how they're looking at it, but I mean, I would like to look at the market within itself, and not do the numbers based on those reactions. And even the market was a different animal. You didn't have the technology to get in and out and do the support, and people were much more naive than they are now about the market, and didn't even have access to quotes. I mean, back then my clients had to call me to get a quote. Or at the close of business, they would get the quote in the morning and through the Wall Street Journal. So it wasn't so dynamic. It was a little more static. But anyway, I threw these lines in, and this is kind of the trend, a normal trend of orderly trading that the market was on. And then we get these exuberant, irrational run-ups, and this is really, this is after a lockdown, and then you had all the yahoos in the market to aid in an aggressive move up or an aggressive push. But this right here, in my honest opinion, is where the market should have consistently climbed. And had we not overdone it and been overly exuberant, this is where a healthy progression should be, right? Within these lines right here. And really, this trend line I'm watching the most. This seems to be the strongest and most respected, and the market traded around there, and you could see times of uncertainty and things like that, but just ridging around there and bouncing around here. So here we are in the market right now, and and you could see these other trend lines that I saw, showing some respect. None more so than this center trend line right here, but you could see the reaction around there, how it behaves. It goes there, it tests that, it has some question, it pushes up, and then there's no support, and that's what we're in the middle of right now. So I'm watching this right here. So I have that target just based on the trading, the general psychology of over exuberance and overshooting the good supports and resistance, I have that target of 33.18 plus or minus. I mean, we're going to be respectfully around there. I mean, nothing's on the Nat's ass. So so look at the behavior right here, right? We have this divergence, this bullish divergence right here on the bottoms, which is interesting. I mean, we had this really strong push down, but the momentum didn't represent that, and it kind of pulled back. And now we're making what looks like a classic trend reversal pattern. And really, if you've traded with me daily, this is a pattern I look for, these trend reversal patterns. And my conservative entry is breaking this high. My aggressive entry would be breaking actually this indecisive doji, or I mean even the break of this, because it respected that again. So the break of this doji, which is a little more decisive, it's obviously a doji or a day that the bears have won. So breaking this, I would take my entry and put my stop down around here, because this pattern is void if the market trades below that. So that's where my stop is. And if you wanted an aggressive stop, you can go down around here. But I would take it here and then wait for another entry. Just take my licks and not risk this movement. I mean, you're talking about 200 points right there. And so this has more value to me again because it's right around this center trend line, this blue trend line. This is the center trend line. There's the lower one, but it's right around that. And the lower one, interestingly enough, is close. Like if you took my overshoot, you get around my 13 range, my 38.13. If we traded down to here, started respecting this, you're going to get a little overshoot. We'll get relatively close to my 33.18 number. So anyway, this is when you pay respect to your setups or your patterns that you follow when they are happening around trend lines and support and resistance. So I'm watching this closely. I mean, I'm not really taking too much of a position. I'm buying things that I like and I get cheap. I know that I may still see that 33.18. I think there's some guys out there calling for 2,700. I mean, and they're good guys. They're really respectable guys. But I don't know. It makes me question my 33.18 or even my trendline theory here because I have such tremendous respect for them. But those are catastrophe numbers, and I don't see catastrophe. I see potential for catastrophe, but I don't see catastrophe right now. I mean, this Russian-Ukraine thing, and China. I mean, they just pose so much risk that I can understand that theory, but I don't know, man. And I have no confidence in this idiot in office to work shit out. I mean, this is just like, it's like boob central, man. And I can't believe, you know, they the Democrats got so smoked. Just this whole anti-Trump. And look, man, it's a huge argument. I mean, I could see the argument. The guy was a total asshole. But again, I'm not introducing the president to my daughter, making him a son-in-law. That's not what I'm looking for. The guy, he is a deal maker. He's a hard ass, and he had some insight. I mean, I could bring up a lot of points that he brought out that nobody really focused on. I mean, initially, um, he was promoting masks. Fauci went out and said masks didn't work. Entirely political. And he didn't want to shut down the economy, and wanted us to use masks to continue um, our practice, understanding that we're capitalists and everybody's opposed to that, and we're basically doing it now. He said, get the vaccines out, mask up, and go to work. Let's work. Don't shut the economy down. And I agreed with that philosophy. And really, we're where we are right now because of the shutdown. It just threw a monkey wrench in the works. We shut everything down. We killed the supply chain. We fucked up the machine, and now we're paying the price for it. but you got to shut it down. You got to shut it down. So we destroyed our economy to save like the most vulnerable 2% or 5% of our population. It was a ridiculous strategy, and just based on how contagious the disease is now, or the virus is now, and how we're managing it, we could have done that right through without the shutdown. Vaccines should have been pumped out, and everybody should have been getting vaccinated to protect themselves, and how vulnerable should have been isolated. But the majority of our economy could have kept pumping, and this was another one of his arguments. Another one of his arguments was that Europe was too dependent on Russian oil. I know everybody says he's in bed with Russia. He was in bed with Russia. He's a businessman. He's doing it, but it didn't mean that he trusts them and was in love with them. He's making money where he could make money. Hey, we're still making money with China, and China is absolutely supporting this war on Ukraine. And China's end game is the destruction of the U.S. economy, and yet we keep pouring our money into our enemy. Same thing with Trump. I mean, basically, he's making money with a guy, but he knew exactly who the guy was, and he told everybody, "Look, you're vulnerable, and you got to smarten up and get wane your dependency from on Russian oil and things of that nature." Everybody, yeah, you're a nationalist, you're a racist, you're a communist, da 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 da, and nobody saw the forest for the trees. He was all over NATO. Yo, nobody's spending money. You're not meeting your goals. We need to build up NATO. We need the defense. You're making everybody vulnerable. Yeah, they sat by the sidelines. Now there's a war. There's a problem. Now they're starting to make their contributions. Oh, yeah, you know what? We are vulnerable. Russia can roll in here and start taking over European countries. Let's start making the contributions, right? But he was a warmonger. Trump was a warmonger and a nationalist and an idiot. And the Democrats were so good at pumping the hate that they got exactly what they wanted. They got a moron in office who talks about all these fantasies that are unsustainable. You can't, it's idealistic. It's not pragmatic. You can't run a country being idealistic. Um, and even the bullshit they're still pumping out. I read the article that oil production in America is at historic since Biden took over, oil production in America is at historic highs. And when you do the math, the highs are in his term. They're not historic highs. If you go back through Trump's term, you go back, years. The oil production is lower than ever. It's the highest it's been during Biden's term, but that's because when Biden came in, he crushed the oil industry. He put in all these sanctions and restraints and everything like that, and they knew what they were in for, so they were tapering back as he was taking office. So it's just the bullshit, and this just goes to show you look back on history, and even when during Trump's term or Trump's run for office in 2016, I mean, you heard the Democrats screaming that he's going to destroy the economy, and that your portfolios are going to get destroyed, and just the whole fear mongering that they were doing, and wasn't the case. I mean, everybody did very well under his reign. And again, I didn't vote for the guy. I didn't vote for anybody actually that because I don't agree with the manner in which they do things, how they keep other can't runners or candidates out of the limelight and suppress them, and the Republican Democrats are the majority. And my opinion is, if you vote, you can't bitch. People say if you don't vote, you can't complain. Bullshit, man. I'm not buying the shit. I don't vote. I don't support it, and I'm bitching. I'm complaining. I don't vote because my vote doesn't count. One man, one vote. You got my vote. Three parties, three viable parties. Make it so that an independent can run and get the same exposure as these billion-dollar candidates. Put a cap on it, man. The most you could spend on your campaign is $150, $150,000. You know what I mean? Then, every independent, or will have so many good, healthy. It'll be so hard to suppress people who want to do good for this country. You know, with a cap like that, get the word out. Um, on $150,000, and then you can't run these smear campaigns and all the bullshit. Your dollar is going to have to count, and people are going to want to know what you're about. And interesting candidates could voice their opinions. So I don't know what all this has to do with the market. I went off on a rant. So um, yeah, I think I'm bothered by this. So this is cathartic for me. I get to vent all of this shit. So anyway, we talked about this trend reversal. This is what I'm watching. I'm not moving on anything. I tell you, I wouldn't be short-term bullish until we break this high. I wouldn't take an aggressive trade right now, just based on how the market's behaving. Right now, we're down 18. I think the worst I saw was 25, down 25. It's okay. I mean, we're just getting into the mix in a short week with not a lot going on. I'm expecting that the volume is going to be light because, everybody took the week off to enjoy their family for the 4th of July. These are all the things I am expecting from this week. So maybe you guys keep your eye on it and look for that too. I really don't see any short-term setup other than that. You could drill down on the dailies and see how you would take this entry. I mean, looking at the 30, the 60, nothing's exciting me. I don't see anything I need to get involved with. I'm really going to just watch and see what it looks like throughout the day, and then maybe take my trade. I think I'm looking at a bear flag on the on the futures, on the 240 on the futures. So I'll see how that plays out. It would trigger 5:30. So at 9:30, yeah, it'll trigger, and then we'll know what happens there. There's a bearish divergence, I think, or a bearish inflection rather on the weeklies. So your bias might be bearish on this, but we'll see how it plays out. All these technicals could get blown up because there's so much fundamental input going on this week, or fundamental influence. So we'll watch that. We'll watch that. So anyway, I hope everybody had an excellent weekend. Got to enjoy their family. I had a ton of family up at my house, and it was very interesting. We were planning on having everybody up at the house, and it was going to be a huge party. So we made all the accommodations so that everybody could fit in the house. We didn't want to, house everybody all over the town in different homes and stuff. We wanted everybody together. So we worked it out like that, and we've been working towards it. And every time we get it together, something happened to compromise the party. People had needs, and extended family had issues, and but we kept working hard to make this shit all happen. And then we finally did all the shopping and everything. And then a slew of the younger kids, like daycare age and stuff like that, just all got hit with colds and flus and things like that. And then we were going to, cancel it, or hold off, because some of the adults have immune issues, and then we have a lot of elderly, who are like just, teetering on the brink of rolling over. And it was just going back and forth and back and forth. And then we finally had it happening, and then all the younger kids took a turn for the worse. All those parents were up, throughout the night with sick children. They're like, "Yo, we just can't make it." So the whole fucking thing fell apart. And but I mean, there were lots of people up here, but it wasn't as big as we anticipated. And it also turned out phenomenal. Like, it worked out well, because I was getting worn out, and and I'm doing all the cooking. And then my lover came up, and my kids came up, and they were helping me out up at the house. And then the party thinned out, and some extended family. But it was cool. We had everybody around. But I have like freezers full of food, because I was preparing for massive gathering, and we got a pretty okey doke gathering. I think it was about 12 of us that ended up coming up, spending the weekend. But everybody had plenty of room. I guess it worked out. And it was all city folks. So like the deer, the turkey, the woodpeckers, the fox, everything. They were just going crazy with all the animals, and that was nice to see. So anyway, I hope everybody had a similar experience, or at least got to enjoy their family. And here we are back in the grind. So, hey, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like. Everybody mellow out, be at peace when you trade, and good luck trading.